Hi.
Hey there.
Can you please state your first name?
Yes, I'm Dave.
Awesome. So now we're going to go on with the questions. How have you, your family, or someone you know struggled to find or keep a safe slash decent place to live?
I think the most significant experiences I've had around this were working for 10 years in Seattle, Washington, with homeless people dealing with mental illnesses and people in recovery.
Mhm.
Because that community, working with them for 10 years on a consistent basis, I saw over and over and over again how the lack of a stable place to live meant every other part of their life was unstable.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just consistent. And, once you have many of these people were coming out of prison, they were coming out of very unstable environments. So they had evictions on their records, they had prison records, they had all kinds of violence, issues of having been violent with other people. And so all these kinds of things that kept them from being able to access even the small amount of affordable housing that was available. Um, and so I got to know and love these people and realized the human cost of policies that do not prioritize affordable housing. And, finding that since I've been in Columbus for the last 4.5 years, um, discovering the same thing. I was on a conference call with the housing group and heard the statistic that for every $1,000 increase there is in the cost of an average house, 1,000 people are knocked out of the housing market. And so when you think of all of the huge increases in housing costs here, and that is that these aren't people. This doesn't even include the folks who were making under $30,000 a year. Which is really the priority for Brett, is to make sure that those folks have housing. So I think it was really coming to know and love people who consistently were denied what all of us need and want and deserve, which is to be able to go home to a place and have a room that is clean and safe, and to have facilities that are not filled with mold and absence of heating and cooling and all that. So yeah, luckily, the people I've come to know in terms of myself, my friends, my family have resources.
Mm.
And I will be forever grateful for the 10 years I had in the job in Seattle, having to face the reality that so many people face,
Mm.
which is, yeah, they have to just go from shelter to shelter or sleep in incredibly unsafe places where they're couch surfing, if they're lucky enough even to do that, or to be outside. And housing just seems like one of those things that any civil society should provide for everybody who wants it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that was kind of my personal experience of the realities of homelessness and the lack of affordable housing as core public policy.
Wow, it's great. Beautifully said. So then going off of that, why is it important to you that Bread pushes for more affordable housing? You kind of summed it up
Yeah, because
nicely.
I think housing is everything. I mean, when I look at issues that Brett is involved with around, violence and around police reform and around trying to have alternatives to suspensions from schools and those sorts of things, it seems that if people had a stable place to call home, that that would keep that one domino from falling that I think then affects a lot of other behaviors. If people have stable housing, they might be able to keep it together more at school. They might be able to deal with, stresses and tensions and maybe the allure of gang activity or other kinds of criminal behavior, because they're risking something. They have this stable place. I mean, I think of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This idea that that all humans, when we have core safety and stability, then we can really grow into the human beings we're capable of being. But if we don't have those core stable needs, then it rarely is going to happen. So the rest of our lives, then we will not be able to live up to and use the gifts that we've been given. So that's why I see housing as just one of those core human needs that, if it were in place for many more people, I think we would see a reduction in some of the other issues that really keep our societies from being humane and life-giving and safe places. So that's why I really believe in this affordable housing initiative, to say, we all want that. I mean, think of wouldn't any of us want that? And so then if all of us would want it, then certainly those who can't afford it want it as well. So it sort of seems to connects us with all the rest of human creation, to say housing is key and essential, and it's a right. Like people say healthcare is a right, housing is a right, I believe too.
That's great. That's great. That is it for questions. But do you have any other last comments that connect to either of them?
Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful that there are people who have come together to try to make this happen, and grateful that, you have done your internship with this organization too, that there are people who care and say this is worth an investment of time and energy to make happen. So thank you.
Oh yeah, well, I'm just inspired by all these fantastic interviews, and just the people who, speaking of caring, individuals like you who care and investing time and having these conversations. So no, it's great. Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you. I'll end the recording now.